Spirit Sports Consultants presents
This week in football, we're going to take a look at some Week 9 NFL updated picks. Have a few updates from our first video. Going to do some Week 8 NFL game reviews. Kind of sets us up for our Week 9 picks. And then we're going to look at a few college picks. And then in addition to that, we're going to give you our results from Week 8. We had 15 picks. We went 10 and 5. Then we'll give you our college results as well. We're going to start off here with a few Week 8 NFL game reviews. Let's start with some Week 8 game results as we feed into our Week 9 picks. I'm going to start here with the Colts at the Texans. I'm going to show you this play here. A crushing interception, basically a pick six, giving the Texans the ball inside the 10-yard line. Texans ended up winning the game 23-20, but again, this is a lucky win. That was basically a gift touchdown. They only won by 3. Texans at the Jets, and this is an updated pick from our earlier video. We made a few changes because we just learned about the Texans injury. Stephon Diggs is out for the season with an ACL tear. They were already missing Nico Collins from an earlier injury, really depletes them at wide receiver. And they've also had a lot of trouble blocking people. The offensive line has protection issues. Clearly, the offensive MVP of this season has been Joe Mixon at running back. Great acquisition. So we really think this is going to be a defensive struggle. Two of the best cornerbacks in the league here with Sauce Gardner and Stingley with the Texans. We think Jets will take this narrowly 17-14. We wouldn't play that. We think the best play here is the under. We think it's going to be one of those primetime unders, under 42.5. Let's look at some Week 8 game results. We didn't have these for our last video. We got the Giants, the Steelers. Look at this unbelievable strip sack fumble by T.J. Watt, preserving the win for the Steelers and the victory for those of us that had the Steelers. 26-18 for the Steelers. Look for the Steelers as a threat in the AFC now at 6-2. And before we continue, if you would, just join our channel. And if you like this video or find it useful, like it and then subscribe. We provide weekly NFL picks, highlights, and sports travel. Thank you. And the Steelers was one of our first picks. We had them winning over the Giants. Overall, we were 10-5 for Week 8. Had a couple great games. We liked the Eagles. Commanders, we had them +3, so we would have won regardless of the Hail Mary. Packers, Jaguars, money line. We have a little video later where we discuss that, a segment rather. Teaser, we lost on the Jets, Ravens. We combined those. Rams, we think the officials cost them that game, but we lost there. Texans, we knew better. We took them anyway. Lions, we took that. We won there. Falcons, a little lucky. Bills and the blowout win. Chargers, we had that. We actually had the Raiders to cover. We appreciate that. It was a little dodgy there towards the end. Worst pick of the week was the Cowboys. We thought that they were due. All of our metrics in our system had 49ers. We ignored that. Cowboys are the Falcons, and if the Jets were one of the biggest disappointments in the AFC, you got to look no further than Jerry's team is the biggest disappointment for the NFC. I'm trying to think, is there a bigger disappointment? I can't think of anything. And when you look at going at Atlanta, the Falcons haven't exactly been dominant, but they are sitting atop the NFC South, which is impressive in its own right. The point differential has not been that great. We love the fact they're going to be able to run the ball, and we know what Dallas can't do against the run. They can't stop it. They tried that, six-man front against the 49ers. Slowed them down a little bit. Ultimately, the 49ers overcame that. We think the Falcons will do the exact same thing in Atlanta on that fast turf. We like them here 28-21 over the struggling Cowboys. And sticking with the Falcons in Week 8, they were facing off with their NFC South rivals, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, in those cool retro creamsicle uniforms. And you make the call here. We don't think that was a touchdown. We think he was stripped at the half-yard line. Referees stuck with the call on the field like they do when they're afraid to make a controversial pick. But we think the Falcons, they took the game here 31-26. They're probably in the driver's seat for the NFC South division with injuries in New Orleans and Tampa Bay. Raiders at the Bengals. The Raiders have been struggling all year. The Bengals also surprisingly struggling. I think a lot of people felt like they were on the upswing, but favored them against the Eagles. We saw that the Eagles were the better team. The key injury to T. Higgins was a problem. We see their second game back-to-back at home. We think they're going to bounce back here. We like them in this spot, 21-14 over the Raiders. But the big problem for the Bengals, we think, has been inconsistent offense, but the defense really has not been able to slow teams down. We don't think the Raiders pose that much of an offensive threat. Broncos at the Ravens. The Broncos and Bo Nix continues impressive rookie season. Of course, they were playing Carolina, but it's still another dominant performance. We think going out to Baltimore is going to be a little bit different for a rookie. Even C.J. Stroud last season really struggled in 2 games at Baltimore, struggled badly. And you look at the Ravens again, this is a good example of home division underdogs. The Browns coming in there with a new quarterback, Jameis Winston, really took them to task. I don't think the Ravens were ready. That's kind of the definition of a trap game. You hear that term thrown around a lot. Letdown game after that win over Tampa Bay. But we think the Ravens do bounce back. We still think they're one of the best top 2 teams in the AFC, right there with the Chiefs. You can make a case for the Bills as well. We think it's Ravens and Chiefs, so we like the Ravens here, 27-21 in the bounce back win over Denver. Back to Week 8 games, we had that much anticipated matchup, Caleb Williams versus Jaden Daniels. We're glad Jaden Daniels got to play. It was kind of a boring game for much of it. A lot of field goals there. Bears defense played great, but the unbelievable finish, I'm sure you guys have seen the highlight by now, but one of the strangest Hail Marys we've ever seen. Tipped backwards, caught for the touchdown. Commanders take this one 18-15 to stay on top of the NFC East. Bears at the Cardinals, and the Bears, of course, off the devastating finish we just discussed. And the question for us is how will the Bears respond? You've got a rookie quarterback, a great rookie quarterback, a great defense, pretty solid head coach. How are they going to respond to that emotionally deflating thing? Our rule is we see a lot of other handicappers saying that's a bad thing. We don't think so. We think that's a test of a team's kind of spirit and their attitude. We think the Bears have a strong one. They really had that game well in hand, should have won it. We think they're going to go out to Arizona and defend it, come back, and bounce back for that game 21-17 over the Cardinals. The Cardinals have great offensive talent, but we were really impressed with the Bears' pass defense. They were shadowing those receivers all game long, and Jaden Daniels really had no open receivers. And next, we have another updated pick with the Colts at the Vikings. The news came out that the Colts are benching Anthony Richardson in favor of Joe Flacco. That should make the Colts a little bit more competitive. We had said in our earlier video that Anthony Richardson needs to correct his throwing motion. He doesn't move his feet well enough. They're not aligned properly. But we think still in this matchup, Joe Flacco being relatively immobile against that Brian Flores aggressive blitzing defense, I think that's going to be an issue for them and give the Vikings the advantage. We'd like them here 28-21 over the Colts. Week 8 results. Eagles at the Bengals is one of our favorite plays for the week. Everybody was loving the Bengals here. We see something with the Eagles with the addition of Saquon Barkley. Now they have their receivers back healthy. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, really dynamic offense. We like Jalen Hurts, the controlled passing game, the running ability, difficult to scheme for. How do you defend that team? Took the game here 37-17. Look out for weird stats like that. The fact they had never won Cincinnati. The last time they played there was 2016. Stats like that really mean nothing. Jaguars at the Eagles. And when you look at the Week 8 games, we felt that the Jaguars had a golden opportunity for upsetting the Packers when Jordan Love went out with an injury. They had it right there. They had multiple opportunities to take the lead and win it. But again, unforced errors, bad turnovers at the wrong time, and then losing on a last-second field goal, for some reason giving up a deep pass with almost no time left to the backup quarterback. Inexplicable. But then when you look at the Eagles on the other side, we really felt like what they did at Cincinnati was the best performance of the week. And when you look at a lot of teams won big, but most people had the Bengals winning at home, falling in love with the Joey B offense. But look at the Eagles. I think they're a stealth team in the NFC. We really think Commanders are getting a lot of hype. Everybody loves the Lions now and the Packers even. But the Eagles now, with the defense kind of taking shape with Vic Fangio, the new rookies are really playing well. A.J. Brown's back, Devontae Smith. Look out for this team in the NFC. Rams at the Seahawks in this tough NFC West divisional matchup. Look at the Seahawks in that defeat in Week 8 against the Bills. Very, very concerning. We thought all along they were kind of posing when they started off 3-0. Great start, but they really hadn't played anybody. They played the Dolphins without Tua. They played Bo Nix in his very first game. Really, it was kind of a weak schedule, like we said. Then on the other side, we look at the Rams. We're not sure what to make of that Thursday night victory over the Vikings. On the one hand, definitely they were referee-assisted, official help, as we will call it. Very questionable calls. But on the other hand, to be totally fair, the Rams, Puka Nacua over 100 yards, Cooper Kupp dominant. When those two receivers are there and they're healthy, that team can put up points on anybody. And I think that will continue here, even on the road. This is a division foe, but they're comfortable playing at Seattle. That home field edge shouldn't be as dominant for the Seahawks. And the Seahawks are really struggling on both sides of the ball, so we like the Rams here, 24-21, even on the road. Ravens at the Browns. The Ravens definitely looked like one of the best teams in the AFC coming into this matchup. The Browns a little bit lost. New quarterback who's going to start, but Jameis Winston looked great. Really led that offense well. The entire Browns team seemed fired up. Jim Schwartz on the defensive side, 29-24 for the upset. This is one of those great examples of an underdog spot that we missed. Had we predicted the Browns would win, you guys would have laughed at us. Hit us in the comments. Great setup for the Browns. We regret not taking it. Sticking with the Browns, they host the Chargers in this Week 9 matchup. The Chargers have been doing it all with defense. They had a little bit more of an offensive explosion this past week against the Saints. Of course, the Saints are injury ravaged. And then, of course, the Browns, we just discussed their upset win over the Ravens. And then if you look at these two teams, let's don't look at what they just did in Week 8, but the defenses are phenomenal. So we think with the Jim Schwartz defense, with a slower quarterback, Justin Herbert might be able to slow him down, sack him a few times. I think Jameis should be able to keep a good offensive balance. They'll probably, both these teams are probably going to run the ball. We think it'll be a low-scoring game. Look for the under here. We have a predicted score of 17-14 Browns, but look for the under in this play. More games from Week 8. We had the Cardinals visiting South Florida to play the Miami Dolphins, and Tua Tagovailoa's return. A lot of excitement, especially here in the South Florida area. Really excited to see him back, and he seemed like he was the Tua of old. Great offensive work. We put up 27 points, but again, it was the defense that let the Dolphins down to allow the Cardinals to have a 28-27 victory. We all thought all along going into the season the defense was going to be the Dolphins' Achilles heel, and we don't see them currently as a playoff caliber team, despite their 2-5 record. With Tua coming back, they've got a tough schedule in late November, December, and it's probably over for the Dolphins until next season. Dolphins at the Bills, and when we were researching this segment, we were stunned to find out that the Dolphins have only won once over the Bills in the Tua era. And we recall that game as we were here in South Florida, and it was like 90 degrees and like 100% humidity, and Josh Allen could barely stand dealing with the heat. So we think this is a one-sided matchup. We're not going to overreact too much to the Dolphins' loss against the Cardinals or the Bills' blowout win. We just think this is a mismatch. It's a series that the Bills have owned. Tua is still not 100%. Again, the game's at Buffalo. We think the Bills will take care of this one rather easily, 35-21 over the visiting Dolphins. Patriots at the Titans, not too much to like for either of these teams this season. When we look at the Patriots, great win against the Jets. And then the Titans, of course, they're still struggling on offense. Mason Rudolph hasn't done that much more than Will Levis. We're not sure who's going to be playing quarterback this week. I wouldn't be shocked if they go back to Will Levis on this one. And we really don't have a play on this one. We would not bet this. We'll caution you there. But we're going to look at our double technical rule. Look at a team coming off a big win, going against a team that just lost, and especially when that team that just lost is coming back home, that usually takes us to the home team. So we'll take the Titans here, 21-17, solely based on that rule. We don't recommend necessarily betting this one. Saints at the Panthers. This is an updated pick from our Monday video we put out, our picks for all games. We're switching this to the Saints because we got the word that Derek Carr will be playing, or he's planning to play. He's going to practice Wednesday, Thursday, and the rest of the week. It should be good to go for a Sunday start. We think the Saints now have the advantage, especially with also having Taysom Hill back, so they're getting back to 100%. And the Panthers, now they're going back to Bryce Young. They're continuing to struggle. They just traded Dante Johnson, so they're going to have limited resources on the offensive side. So again, we think the Saints are the better bet here. We like them winning this game 24-17 at Charlotte. Buccaneers at the Chiefs. This could have been a great matchup with the Bucs at full strength with the receivers Godwin and Mike Evans, but with those two guys out, I mean that's a big chunk of the offense going up against Patrick Mahomes and what they've been able to do on the defensive side especially. And of course they continue to score at will, even though they're not clearly 100% back to the peak Mahomes days. But on this one, you have to think the Chiefs have the advantage. They're the home team. Buccaneers not 100%. We're going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs here, 24-17 over the Buccaneers. Let's take a look at our college football picks from Week 9. We went 6-2 for the week. Auburn and Kentucky under. We got burnt on Alabama. We thought the quarterback would start. He got hurt during the game. Michigan State let us down a little bit. Otherwise, 6-2, pretty good week. We like it. This week we only have one college game that we really, really like. We're looking at a few others. We might push some more picks out there on Saturday, but we're recording this on Tuesday. Not quite sure. Ohio State, Penn State, we love that matchup's always leaning towards the Buckeyes. Now with Penn State quarterback Drew Aller potentially out for the game, I think Ohio State, they look great in that Oregon game. They just came up short. We like them here, 31-21. Commanders at the Giants. And again, we've already talked about it when we were referring to the Bears game, but the Commanders with that unbelievable walk-off, Hail Mary tip ball. You're not going to see that play happen too often, which again, if you've watched these videos before, is our definition of a lucky win. Now, the Commanders are the better team here by far against the Giants, who've shown almost nothing on offense, but this is one of those setups we worry about. We're going to go ahead and predict the Commanders will win this one 28-21, but we want to watch the lines here. If anything over 7.5 to 8 is going to be value on the Giants. So really pay attention closely to those lines. We think this is a spot, especially if Jaden Daniels has any lingering issues with his ribs. Could be a good spot for the dog play here. NFL Week 8 games, looking at the Packers at the Jaguars. We felt this would be close. We like the Packers here, but it came down to the final minute. This unbelievable play by Malik Willis to set the Packers up for the game-winning field goal as they ultimately prevailed 30-27. Tough loss for the Jaguars at home. Next, we want to take you to our website. We call our weekly deep dives. We do one free per week. The rest we make available to subscribers. This is the Packers-Jaguars game. We're going to take a look at what we look at to get an estimated score, and that's the scored allowed numbers, which is what Vegas uses to get the point spread. Home adjustment, giving you the base forecast. In this case, it was 26-23 Packers, but then we go deeper. We want to look at each team's offensive and defensive statistics, look for an advantage. Won't tell you our exact formula, but looking here, the Packers-Jaguars, we felt like the Packers had a 2-point edge here, giving them a 20. Now it's a 28-point estimate. Look at the Jaguars offense versus the Packers defense. We don't see an adjustment or an advantage on either side, so we keep it at 23. Gives us a forecast of 28-23 with the 2 points we added. We think that adjusts that to 28-24. It's only 4 points. The line is 3.5 to 4. We said Packers money line. And now for the main event for the weekend, the Lions at the Packers. Again, you've heard us rave about the NFC North, but we think that the hype is deserved. These two teams are definitely two of the tops in the NFC, facing off at Lambeau. And when we did these projections earlier, we were all leaning Green Bay. But then when you look at the game against Jacksonville, not the performance, they won the game. It was a tough game on the road and all that. And we're not going to get too caught up with what the Lions did dominating the Titans. We don't look at that too much. But we look at the injuries. We're concerned about Jordan Love's groin injury. We're concerned especially with Jair Alexander looking like he hurt his leg walking off the field. And then Evan Williams is hurt. Josh Jacobs even got hurt there towards the end. Whereas the Lions, we think this is the best team they've ever had. We really think that they were great last year. We think they've gotten even better. So we think even on the road against the Packers, again, a fully healthy Packers might be a different pick. We like the Lions here 28-21 at Lambeau. And now let's take a look at our power rankings. We have the Chiefs on top, Lions, Ravens, Packers, Bills, Vikings, Texans, Commanders, 49ers, and the Eagles. And who's not on this list would be the Steelers. We think they could definitely move up quickly. We're going to keep this as it is. We think the Eagles could also rise quickly. Texans we're questioning. We think that 6-2 might be a mirage. Look for them to drop here soon.
That's all for this time. Thank you for joining. Please subscribe to our channel, and we look forward to sharing our future videos with you.